Welcome to Slim Nation's One on One podcast with conversations featuring the host, James Slim Overton.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Slim Nation's One-on-One podcast. Of course, I'm James Slim Overton, and I'm here with a special guest, someone that I met a long time ago. I'm not going to mention the years. Long time ago in junior high school. So that should tell you something because they're called middle schools now. But junior high school at W.E. Waters in the city of Portsmouth, Virginia. Uh, and her name is Beverly Harris, and we recently connected, through Facebook, and we were at Waters Junior High, and we were both in the orchestra. We both played cello, and yeah, I guess they used to call the orchestra uh, players or participants back then nerds, but I mean, it wasn't that bad being a nerd. I guess back then we didn't like the term, but being a nerd kept us out of trouble. But that was a learning process of being in the orchestra, and we talked. I always tell people being in the orchestra. And I was just in there for 2 years. Taught me appreciation for all kinds of music. I can listen to orchestra music. I can listen. My favorite is jazz, but I can listen to all types of music. But anyway, that's when we met and went to different high schools in the city of Portsmouth, rival high schools actually, and she agreed to be my guest here on the One on One's conversation. And we're going to talk a little bit about her. And then she is an author and she has a publishing company. And I'm interested to know about that publishing company, how that started and everything. But good morning, Beverly. How are you?
Good morning, James, and thanks for having me. I'm fine. Great to be here.
Thanks for being here. We go back and we have those experiences early in our life, and sometimes and during that time up until now we always wonder, I wonder where Beverly is, I wonder where Johnny is, I wonder where that a
Yes.
certain person is. And
Mhm.
sometimes you never find out or you never run into them, but sometimes you're fortunate enough to run into those persons again. And this is not the first time. One time, I think my parents had a lady or a couple in common. Miss
Mhm. Exactly.
Ida Mae Evans,
Isla,
I think that
Isla
was her name.
Evans, and
Isla Evans.
Jimmy Evans.
Ah, yes, and
Oh my
we
God.
just happened to meet over there one time
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of caught up with what was going on then. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was, and those orchestra days were something. I don't know. Do you remember? I don't even remember why I joined the orchestra. What I guess
I
I wanted to be involved. Do you remember why you?
I wanted to be in the band, but
Oh,
um I don't remember. I don't know if the band already had enough people and they said they offered me the orchestra or what. But it was a fun experience. I did want to play the violin or the viola, but I ended up playing the cello, which I was introduced to the sound of it, and I really love it. But it was a little, as I've told you before, it was a little heavy for me because I was walking to school because I live very close
yeah,
to school. It was a little heavy to carry home every day.
yeah. Like I said, I never really thought about it. I don't know if because my good friend said let's join the orchestra, and I said okay. But
Hmm. Hmm.
I picked up the cello, and that was a good experience. Actually, at that time, the band director and the orchestra teacher were married, so
That's
they were helping fill each other's
right. Hmm.
students. You give me some of your band students, and I'll give you, whatever.
That's
But
right.
so what have you been up to now? You left Waters and I went to Wilson one year. You went to Craddock, and then
Mhm.
after you graduated from Craddock, what then?
After I graduated from Craddock, I went off to college at Virginia State University and had a
The
fabulous time.
Trojans.
The Trojans, that's right. Um, had a great time there. And got a good education. I majored in history, which was
Whoa.
something that I
So the
always liked. And and then from there, joined a sorority, did all of this, sorority, fraternity type things, and
shout out your sorority.
shout out my sorority. That's right, Sigma Gamma Rho,
Okay,
celebrating
okay,
101 years this anniversary this month.
okay. So, well, it's appropriate you being on here. We always like to shout out the members of the Divine Nine. I
Oh,
didn't pledge, but my dad was a Kappa. You know,
yeah.
so you know.
I know your dad was a Kappa because one time, one year or a couple years, he visited because the Kappas and the Sigmas are brother sister organizations, and I was
Okay.
actually a Kappa sweetheart, and your father visited us a couple of times.
Oh, did he? Okay,
He did, and I was like, hey,
pretty
that's
cool.
that's James's dad,
Yeah, he stayed on our campus too. Of course, the Kappas are there. But so that experience, and we always talk about the HBCU experiences. It's nothing like it.
No.
Uh, it's the heartaches,
Mhm.
things, and you get a chance. And for some of us, that's the first time away from home, even though it
Yeah.
wasn't that far. But you're on your own. You get up with someone and say, "I really don't have to go to class if I don't."
Yes.
But but you have a commitment,
You
that
have a commitment. Yeah.
you push through it and go there. But having
Mhm.
that freedom and
Mhm.
everything, and then meeting people from different places, you know, because some of those experiences there. My first roommate was from New York, from Brooklyn, New York, and that was
Mhm.
an experience because some of the stories he told me, you
Mhm.
know, you just think about somebody from Brooklyn, New York. Then he
Yes.
was far more advanced
Yes.
as
I had a
far as the
similar
street,
experience.
far
Mhm.
as the streets. And
Mhm.
he, I'm sitting there listening to him. I said, "Wow, I had to be home at 10 o'clock.
Right.
Sometime I had to be home before my dates had to be home. So I had to make up some excuse. Well, I have
Mhm.
homework tonight. But
Mhm.
anyway, but those experiences are part of the HBCU experiences, and then the teachers, for Virginia State Union was a little smaller than Virginia State, but I'm sure you got a lot of that hands-on from the
Yes.
professor. You know,
You got a lot of hands-on care and a lot of nurturing and a lot of developing a sense of who you are, who your community is, and what your responsibility is as far as helping that community, giving back that to that community, and it was just a wonderful experience. Like you said, it's not that far from Portsmouth. Petersburg isn't. So I saw a lot of people from Portsmouth who went to Virginia State, but I also met
mhm.
a lot of people from all over the country. And my first roommate was from Paterson, New Jersey.
Oh, okay,
Um,
another up north. Yeah.
exactly. And most of the people on my hall were like from Philly, DC, New York, and it was very different. The incense would be flowing, the music would be playing,
Yeah,
and they had all these black lights and black light posters and
those posters. Yeah, you talking about the '70s? That was a
exactly
interesting era, and
very
it was the time of Nixon, and
mhm.
I can remember sitting in the door one time watching TV and sitting watching him on TV say, "I'm not a crook," And I said, "This is the president of the United States," and I think about what we're going through now. You
Exactly,
know, I
exactly.
couldn't believe that back there then, and this
Mhm.
is that back there doesn't compare at all to what we're seeing now. But
Oh
that's
no,
another show.
it's like
That's another show.
it
You
is.
made you said you majored in history, and so did I. So we'll have one of those shows that we'll talk about.
Okay.
little
Oh, you
history.
majored in history too.
Yeah, it was a history and government major we had there. So,
Oh, wow.
and one of the things I found out going to a HBCU, especially Union, well, regardless of what religion, what major you chose,
Mm-hmm.
you had to take religion. Virginia Union was a religious based school. As a
Mm-hmm.
matter of fact, all my roommates became pastors except me.
Oh,
But
wow.
we had, and we had to take Black History. I remember traveling back here to Norfolk State and
Mhm.
finding out that Black History was an elective, but at Union it was a requirement.
Requirement. Mm-hmm.
And I learned so much about how much we contributed as a race to the country.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Things that I didn't pick up, even going to Northam, because of the
Right.
curriculum was,
Mm-hmm.
a city curriculum.
Right.
So
It was a
the
state
teachers,
mandate. Mm-hmm.
we knew about the basic people, Booker T. Washington, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
when I got up there and started, the '70s was the spoken word era and all that,
Mm-hmm.
being aware of your blackness and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. So
Yes.
it was a real experience.
It
And I'm
was.
bringing up all this. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it was a great period to be coming of age
Yes,
in, you know?
it definitely was.
Mm-hmm.
And I bring all this up because, when you later in life, the things that you do, your chosen profession, excuse me, and you become an author,
Mm-hmm.
and so what kind of influences were most of your influences? Did they start early on in your life in the city of Portsmouth, or did you start coming of age? You mentioned coming of age when you were at Virginia State and figuring out what you really wanted to do, or you
Well,
had something to say.
well, I have always loved reading and going to the library when I was in high school, middle school, catch the bus downtown, go to the library, spend the day there and whatever was always such fun to me. That was just like a treat, and check out the books and bring them home, and
Yeah.
take,
The
all of that. Mm-hmm.
do a decimal system.
To do exactly to do it just and I always liked to write. I was always very good in English, and I especially like literature. And I guess it's just the natural progression
Mhm.
to go from that to writing. But I really formally began writing when I was much later. I was working for the FAA at the headquarters down in DC, and I took the train every day. And I
Mhm.
had a job that was very technical, and my artistic side was just kind of like starving. So I just
Uh,
started to write on the train, back and forth to work every day.
so what kind of expressions were you said your artistic side was kind of starving?
It was
So what was trying to get out of you? What was coming out of you?
well, I like photography. I've always done a lot with photography. I like interior design. I like gardening, anything that painting, anything that has colors, has movement, has sound to it. I really like. But I was working in a job where I was doing technical writing, and I was developing training for the air traffic controllers, and that was just like, so. I mean, it was just kind of, well, I'll be honest, it was just kind of cut and dry to me. Great people, great organization, but that job just kind
For
of
somebody
drained.
like me, that's what you said technical writing.
Yes,
So for air traffic control, so I would put that in front of me and say, "What in the world?" It might as well have been a foreign language. But to you, it was cut and dry. But
it was cut and
that.
dry. I mean, you work with the experts, with the subject matter experts, and
Mm,
back and forth, working towards the goal and the expectations of what the training is supposed to teach. And and you kind of go from there, but you certainly cannot be as creative as you can be if you're writing a book for children. And
yeah,
so
and I must say this, you see that in a lot of professions. You see a lot of lawyers writing
Mm-hmm.
mystery novels and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
Yeah,
probably therapeutic in a way,
it
to
is.
do something completely opposite what you do every day. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Hmm.
so you see a lot of people like that in one profession that just have those creative juices flowing, and then
Yeah,
they have to get it out. So I
yeah.
think everybody has something in them. You know.
Yes, yes. And to me, I first kind of just wanted to do fun stories for children, but then I thought maybe I want to do something to teach them, to give them messages about their value and their worth, and to affirm them, and things of that nature. So that's after my first fun book, which was just a rhyme story. Um, I decided to kind of leave. I wanted to develop some messages.
So you have two daughters, so I'm sure that was a big influence on you deciding to go that way with the children books,
Yes,
something
I
really
think
fun.
I've always when they were children, I read to them, and we talked about the books, and it's kind of a fun. Even I can remember back to days when I was a child, and my parents used to read to me. They used to read the comics and things of that nature. So it's just always been a part of my life.
And you talk about doing the fun books. I always think about. You remember the fairy tales that we had back then when we were growing up. If you
Yeah.
really think about those grim stories,
Yes,
they were kind of horrible.
they
Cooking people in the
were.
oven and a
Hmm.
wolf eating grandmama and Little Red Riding Hood and
And the
and
wolf.
the kids pushing because the lady was going to cook them. Kids
Hmm.
pushing, and I
Yeah.
said, wow. I used to no wonder I had nightmares sometimes. They were supposed to be fairy tales or fables for us.
Yeah.
So I think the kids need something a little more lighter than that. I
I
don't know.
think they do. Um, the other day I was going to look at the gingerbread man, run, run fast as you can, can't help me because of the gingerbread man. I was
Uh
looking
huh.
at that, and I was going to show it to my grandson, and then I remembered that the fox eats the gingerbread man at the end. So I'm like, well, wait a minute now.
Yeah, I mean, all those stories. Somebody got either the wolf was killed by the axe man or something like
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
Uh, the beanstalk, the giant, he killed. And I
Yes,
said, wow,
rather
wow,
violent.
it's a different world. It's no wonder we're not completely messed up.
I know.
I guess we had some balance there. Our parents kept a little balance there. But I think that was the way of the world then, as far as kids
Yeah.
books.
Mhm.
It was saying as nothing was wrong with that. They
No,
had some lessons in there.
they have
Uh,
some
some
lessons.
people came out as heroes, but if you think about it now, if I go back and think about it, there were some horrible stories.
They really were. I have a old nursery rhyme book that I kept that I used to read to my children, that I read it to my grandson, but I find myself now just flipping through the page. I'm like, well, wait a minute, this one wife did that, and no, that one, I'm like, wow, these are
Yeah,
not they're not acceptable anymore.
yeah. Look, I still feel sorry for old King Cole that fell off the brick and all King's men and all King's
Mm-hmm.
horses or whatever couldn't put him back together. He was actually an egg or
Right.
something.
Smashed up. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So your stories are completely opposite of that. They they're about happiness, joy, and you know,
Yes.
and I think am I correct there?
You are correct.
With lessons.
Lessons exactly, and the lesson that runs through all of them is to teach children that they are valuable. Teach them the value of their mind, to help them build confidence, and to to feel good about them, and to create a good internal language in their minds, because
Mm,
my thought is when they're going out into the world, they need to be equipped with these kinds of good internal language, because they're going to meet some tough obstacles out there, be it in the classroom, in the streets, or just setting goals. And sometimes, and we all know every goal that you set doesn't come true. So how to be resilient enough
Right.
to bounce back from that, and also to understand gratitude and to be thankful for what you do have, because that's a big step towards happiness, is to understand where you are and appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because those formative years are so important, and
Hmm.
a lot of unfortunately, a lot of kids miss out on that kind of
Yeah.
formulation of their minds,
Hmm.
and they just grow up too soon, and they're out there, you know, feel some sort of responsibility. They have to take care of the household. I
Hmm.
can't remember not. I can't remember thinking about bills or
No.
the rent
Mm-mm.
or nothing like that
Oh
all the
no.
way through high school and college.
Right.
So, but some kids out there, feel that responsibility, that they have to do that. And
Hmm.
a kid growing up too fast in very small instances might be a good thing. They might help them survive in a certain environment, but
Hmm.
for most cases, that's not a good thing. Kids
It's
need to be
not.
kids.
It's not. They are not mature enough in their growing process to
Mm.
handle some of the things that are going on around them. Especially unstable home environment, food insecurity, things of that nature. They're not mature enough to handle those. They need to have parents, someone, adults that can be advocates for them and to give them the nurturing that they need.
Indeed, and you talk about nurturing. How can you learn if you're hungry?
Exactly, exactly.
How can you concentrate on anything if
Mm-hmm.
your stomach is craving some food?
Mm-hmm.
So, Beverly, what do you pull from your childhood or some experiences of your daughters, just watching your daughters, or just observing, the everyday world?
Mostly from observing my everyday world, and I have a lot of friends that were early childhood educators and elementary school educators, and sometimes just talking to them and
There's a little
listening to
professionalism in there, a little
yeah, and
professionalism.
listening to some of the challenges that the kids that are in their charge have. I have a friend that was a principal in a Richmond area school system, and she would talk about like kids coming to school on Monday, they'd be so traumatized because somebody was shot over the weekend, some of their
Mm.
parents, somebody went to jail, or you know you have all these grandparents that are raising children, and you know they're not able to really give them what they need, and a lot of kids on medication and they can't get the medication, and I mean it's just horrible. And
And
children they need to be loved and they need to be nurtured. And I feel so badly for them.
yeah, and the only thing I had to worry about is somebody's daddy putting me out the house. That's all right, everybody. That's an inside joke.
Oh
But
goodness.
anyway, so you wrote. So how many books have you written? I think this one that you are promoting now was more of an illustration
It's a
book.
picture book. I've written about
Picture picture book
15.
is what.
Hmm? I've
No, go
written
ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I've written about 15 books altogether. A lot of them
Oh
are
wow.
yes, a lot of them are journals. But affirmation journals and things of that nature, and several picture books. And the latest one, my inspiration came from becoming a grandmother, and I started to think of all of the things that I would want to say to my grandchild. I found out when my daughter was pregnant that it was going to be a little boy. And so I
Mm.
started thinking, wow, well, first of all, I don't have any brothers and I don't have any sons. So how is this going to be? So, but then I started to think about it, and I said, well, okay, these are all of the things some of the things that I want to tell him, and whether I'm around him all the time or not, I want him to have an understanding of how important he is, how valuable, how he's made in God's image, and to
Mm.
think about trouble. To sometimes, if there's trouble, if you turn it around, it's opportunity. So just some kind of words of wisdom I wanted to leave him, and I think it's something that a lot of grandparents think about, and
So these books are available where you in the library, you're in the bookstore, you're Amazon.
they
Where can
available in a lot of online sites like Target online, of course,
mm,
Amazon, Barnes and Noble online. If you go to my website, it will redirect you to Amazon. But some people don't like Amazon, so you can look at Target. Just Google the name of the book and my name, and it'll pop up, and you'll see all the different places.
have you done any audio?
I haven't done audio yet. I was kind of thinking about that. I was thinking, well, you know, um, maybe a
What
little
about
bit.
those kids that haven't started reading yet? I guess when did they start? Because my 5-year old grandchild is just for some reason I thought she could read because the way she talks and
Mhm.
she's learning to read now. But
Mhm.
she can read because I gave her. We were down there and I gave her a card,
Mhm.
birthday card. And I thought she was going to read it,
Mhm.
and she was looking at it. Like and I was waiting. Okay,
Mhm.
and my daughter had to remind me. She doesn't read yet, and
Where
I
do
was
they
kind of
live?
surprised. Huh?
Where do they live?
In Atlanta at the
Atlanta.
time. Yeah, Atlanta. We were down there this summer, and
Mhm.
I just thought, you can hold a conversation with anybody. You can hold a conversation with. I figured that they could read and write,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
I forgot, how young she actually was. That's why I asked you about the audio books.
Mhm.
Would you ever do something like that for those kids that can't read? I don't know. I don't know how early are kids starting to read now? Is it about the same, on track the same, or are they reading sooner now because they are certainly
Well,
seem to be brighter
they are very
or
advanced
they're
now, but it kind
exposed
of
to a lot more?
exposed to a lot more. But she's your granddaughter's 5, isn't she?
Yes,
Yeah, she probably will has started learning some words now, and then
yeah,
probably by first grade is when she'll read. They'll really start to teach her to read.
yes, yeah.
Mhm.
She'll get. I won't be surprised. She pick it up just like that. She'll probably be
Mhm.
taught speaking Spanish before
Mhm.
before she can speak English. So, and let's talk about your publishing company. I guess once you start writing, you said, okay, let me. There are probably other people out here that want to do some of the same things. And how can I
Exactly.
help them? How can I help them get started? So not only do you have the publishing company, but you kind of coach people that might want to express themselves in a certain way, and you help them put pen to paper per se.
That's correct. That's correct. Writing is easy for me. But the publishing process was very it was a learning experience, and there I learned so many different things as I go along, and I'm still learning. And I thought, well, it would have really been helpful to me if when I wanted to publish a book, if I had some body of information and a person to kind of just like tell me, just to say, I'm stuck here. So, what do I do about this, or what to do about that, instead
Mhm.
of, like what I did, which was, racking my brain and digging, trying to find information. So it's a publishing company to help aspiring authors, not only children books, but a lot of times people just have, like you said, a voice and a story they want to tell, and they write it, but then they say like, then what? So so I'm here to help.
Yeah, because I saw these two guys that were popular. They were actors, and they decided to write a book, and they talked about how many times they were turned down. The publishing process
Mm-hmm.
was so tedious, and how many times they were turned down.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went through the process of self-publishing,
Mm-hmm.
and then after the book hit the first seller list,
Mm-hmm.
then the publishing company came back
Mm-hmm.
and republished it under them. But I know that can be a hard process. So walk us, if you can. I guess everybody would be different,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what type of book and what your goals are, who you're trying to reach. So walk
Mm-hmm.
us through the simplest process of starting the publishing process.
Well, the first thing to do would be to, get your manuscript together. Make sure it's well edited, and it's the voice that you want. Obviously no typos and things of that nature. Prepare that. Okay, once you do that, then the next thing to do would be to look at getting a ISBN number, and that's the I don't it's international standards. I don't even know what it stands for, but it's the number that you see on the back of all books, and
ISN
ISBN. Mm-hmm.
or ISBN. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then some people also want to get the Library of Congress number, so that's the process to contact them to get a number for them. And what you do is, once you do get a Library of Congress number, then you give them a copy of your book, and they house it in the Library of Congress. And after that, you would just decide, which format you want for your book. Do you want it to be an ebook? Do you want a paperback? Do you want a hardback? Okay, after these decisions are made, then you would choose a publisher. A lot of people do KDP, but there's a lot of independent. KDP is Kindle Direct Publishing through Amazon. And
Mhm.
Amazon has a huge distribution, and the books are printed on demand. But there are a lot of other publishers and distributors out there as well. But Amazon has and they all have some restrictions. But for children's books, I normally go through Ingram Spark because you can do a hard copy with them. So
Mhm.
after you choose that, then there's the laying out of the book. Choosing an artist for illustrations, um, just so many steps. Getting your cover art done, and after that, then there is um, the actual, sending it to the publisher to be uploaded and make it available for publication and distribution. And all the while that you're doing all of this, you're thinking in your mind, um, how am I going to market this book, and your book launch, and things of that nature. So it is quite a bit, quite a few steps to it. And but it's not that complicated, once you understand how it works. It's actually very simple. But yeah, some of this information is kind of hidden. You don't
Yeah,
come
and
across it.
that cover art is so important because you talk about first impressions.
Mm-hmm.
That's why those romance now novels used to sell so good because people would just buy. They would see these guys on a horse, or you know,
Uh-huh.
these ladies with the hair flowing. That
Mm-hmm.
would draw them to the book. So it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of important what kind of illustration you choose
Mm-hmm.
to.
Very.
It has to have some kind of association with what you're trying to say.
Right,
So that's
exactly.
important. Is
Between.
that something you? Well, you did say you would uh, try to contact an illustrator because
Mhm.
sometimes when you turn it over to the publishing company, they will uh, decide on it and then send you the book and say, "What do you think about this?"
Right, yeah. Well, my process is to work really closely with the author, and
With the
so
author.
I have illustrators that I work with that I think are good, but it's the author's like kind of vision as to what they want. So it's kind of a back and forth process. First, you would, if you're doing a picture book, first it would be developing the characters, and once the characters are, satisfactory to the author, then it's going back and working with the illustrator to develop each page, because each scene on a page, you have to describe to the illustrator exactly what you want. They don't, they do your vision. They don't come to the table with, okay, maybe it should look like this. You have to tell
Yeah,
them everything from
because
your
it
color
could be
palette.
completely different. So tell the aspiring authors that you don't have to, when you're thinking about writing a book, this might discourage some people from even thinking about writing a book. It doesn't have to be War and Peace.
No,
You can say War and Peace is like uh, a book that you might want to have on a island if you're stranded on that island.
right, right.
Because it's going to take you forever to read that. But
Hmm.
you can say a lot uh, in a smaller book from. It doesn't have to
You
be.
can. It
I've seen
doesn't
some
have.
books about like that, and
Right,
it's
yeah,
been an
no.
excellent book.
No, you don't. It can be, any what's your story. What if your story is not 10,000 words, then that's fine. Um, but because a lot of people have expertise in something, and they
Uh-huh.
want to write a how-to book about how to do something, and that could be 500 pages, and it doesn't have to have any illustrations, or it could have some diagrams or tables or whatever, but it's not, the process of publishing is not so daunting that you should be discouraged. Anybody can dig in and get a book published if when they really want to.
Yes, and you mentioned how important it is to have uh, that editor. You know, a
Hmm.
good editor that
A good
really
editor.
know. You know, you get some, just like if my daughter was reading your book,
Mm-hmm.
and she's an English lit major,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a lot of misspelled words or
Mm-hmm.
punctuations are not
Mm-hmm.
in the correct place, or
Mm-hmm.
things like that. She probably wouldn't finish the book.
No.
So you're thinking about people like that,
Mm-hmm.
and some people like to write like they talk, and you can't.
Yes.
That's not always the best way. You have to, it's all about the community. Depends on the book. You can
Mm-hmm.
have a
Depends
certain
on the
type of
book.
book where you might want to use the street language. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
but if I picked up and read it, you use it, street language, I might get lost in the sauce because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. It should
Yeah,
be have a It should be easily understood, um, and flow well, so that people
right.
enjoy reading it. I don't like to read books that I have to go back and say, okay, wait a minute, and that, because I read for entertainment, so I want it to be straightforward.
Yeah, you have to have that character development and all that stuff.
Hmm. Hmm.
That so people won't, be confused. Like you said, go back. Oh, wait, well, where did this person come from? You
Hmm.
know.
Yeah.
So, and that's been working out well for you. I mean, how long did you had the company? Your partner was someone, your
Yes,
co-owner of
my
the company.
husband and I, he does the
Oh, okay.
technical pieces, aspect of it, and I
Oh,
do
keep
interacting.
all in the family. All in the family. Keep
Hmm.
it all.
Yeah, yeah. So we've been doing it now for about 3 years, and it's going well. But I've been writing probably about 8 or 9 years now.
Well, who would have thought? I mean, I might have thought that by now you'd be writing notes for the cello, but I guess you stopped just like what I did.
Yes, yes,
Once I got to high school, I didn't continue.
I
I
did.
kind of wish I did, but
Me too.
or even if I didn't continue, I wish I had kept up with playing because I can imagine right now that could be something that could be kind of soothing or calming
Hmm.
to come home and just because I think cello has one of the best sounds in the
I
orchestra.
do too. I think it has a beautiful, rich tone, and it's one of my favorite sounds. And other sound is the French horn. I think they both
Yeah,
kind of have that kind of richness and that calmness in their tones. And I do kind of wish I had continued. especially when I go to like I hear symphony music or something. And
Yeah.
like you said, you can pick out the cello sound. I'm like, wow, I should have stuck with it.
Oh, you should have stuck with that. And so sometimes you might be in a movie and you hear that solo cello playing,
Mm-hmm.
and say, "Oh man, listen to that."
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned the French horn. I had a band director on, and I had to ask her. I said, "What? Stick in your hand?" Because most people they stuck their hand in the bell of the French
Mm-hmm.
horn, and I wanted to know what was that all about. He said it was that's the first thing you learn when you play the French horn. It, excuse me, it
Mm-hmm.
mutes the sound
Mm-hmm.
of the
Mm-hmm.
French horn. And that's why you get that sound like you said
Mm-hmm.
in the French horn.
Mm-hmm.
But I digress. I went into our cello days. I just can't get away from that
Oh no,
because
that's so great. That was a
yeah,
wonderful time.
yeah, yeah, it was those concerts. That's part of the learning process too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, well, I really thank you for coming on, and like I said, we're going to have many more conversations,
Okay.
one-on-one conversations. Found out, excuse me for coughing. I almost made it through with this cold. I was trying to suppress it, but I better go before I really start coughing. But anyway, we found out we were history majors, and we
Mm-hmm.
can talk a little bit about that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, especially as far as what's going on today. We can have some
Yeah.
conversations about that. But
Yeah.
talk more about the books and anything else you want to talk about. This is one of the reasons I want to start the one-on-ones. Just to have conversations with people from my past,
Mm-hmm.
in my present, or just people about what they're doing now. So,
Mm-hmm.
and you sort of really filled that deal today, and I appreciate you coming on
Well, thank you
and
so
having
much
a
for
conversation
having
with
me.
me.
I
So
really
we'll
appreciate it.
we'll look forward to having you another time, and we'll talk. Give my regards to your family
I sure
up
will.
there in well,
Fairfax in
you're in
Fairfax.
Fairfax, Virginia.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how far is that from DC?
Probably about 10 to 12 miles.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Almost like going from here to Virginia Beach or something like that.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
All right.
Beverly, I appreciate it. Take care, and hope some of the our Waters people. So I saw some people when on during the promo saying I went to Waters or I was in the orchestra. So I hope some of the people get a chance to see this and might remember you up there on stage playing your cello.
Look, maybe not. Well, thank you again for having me and have a wonderful rest of your day. And anytime you want
Yes,
to chat again, I'll be happy to come back.
and thank you. And so glad to make a reconnection with you.
Same
Appreciate
here.
you. Take care. Have a great day. And
You
thanks
too.
everybody for watching the Slim Nation 101 podcast. And when you watch on our YouTube channel, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and share with other people so we can get the word out. Take care. We appreciate you.